haven't recorded a wow moment inside so far. I've always felt like it should be outside. I mean, the church of wow. The self-evident wow moment that expands out to the horizon with the sky and the sea. So easy to appreciate the fullness of the wow. But today, I got back from work and tidied and got into the sea and danced, like fully danced, fought with, sprayed, splashed like a child, played in the water, swam underneath the waves and just had an absolute ball. And I was lucky enough to be able to come back for a hot shower and eat some food that I'd made, delicious, nourishing. I nearly got distracted by buying a takeaway on the way home from work, but I couldn't bring myself to do it, knowing that I could have really good food at home. Oh my goodness. Some fresh runner beans that had been steamed perfectly with salt and olive oil. Oh my goodness. They were amazing. And when I eat alone, I still moan and groan with the joy and the delight of those buttery flavours. Oh my goodness. I really enjoyed that meal. And I enjoyed being in the sea today. And I enjoyed working too. I feel like I've changed my attitudes about lots of things for the better. I feel like I'm making the most of this moment. And even remembering to take a moment to properly appreciate the wow. Just be quiet. I can see the clouds. And I'm so lucky to be able to hear the sound of the sea, but I feel the same when I'm in a forest and I can hear the birds. I don't even need to be in a forest. Just anywhere where one can hear the birds singing, or some kind of animal, some kind of element. The wind, the rain. Even with traffic outside, there seems to be a deep calm. There's an approaching full moon. It looked amazing glittering on the sea last night. I really wonder if people will enjoy sharing these wow moments with me. It seems pretty mental when I'm basically just sitting here with the phone on and saying nothing. But I think there's something about knowing that someone, or that someone somewhere else is also sharing that wow moment. Remembering together, remembering that deep sense of gratitude for being alive, for witnessing this very moment. Like, I am really giving thanks for how blessed I am right now, but I have been really giving thanks even through the hardest times of my life. Accepting them as gifts that are there to teach me something in this school of life. I'm doing my best to learn and still making plenty of mistakes. It's very difficult, or at least I find it very difficult to walk through this world without hurting people. It's really tricky. I find it really tricky. It's not intentional. I wonder how many other people can relate to that, when even despite your best attempts you can still end up bothering other people. And I'm guessing that's just because that's the nature of being alive, or maybe I'm just making excuses. I don't know. Still, indeed, still. And it's funny because it doesn't matter what melee may be taking place on our screens and in the media, and it really strikes me that so much of that noise and that chatter, we turn off our screens, and if we actually stop to listen for a second, it always sounds pretty much like this. I mean, even if you don't have the sound of the sea, there's still a sense of quiet. You can even be in the middle of a city with fire engines and all sorts of sirens going off around you and still feel completely calm in the centre of something that just laps over the attention like water, or like a breeze through the ears. Even in the noisiest of places, one can be so relaxed, in such a state of trust, that we can just fall asleep in the midst of a giant cacophony. Don't we all have a friend that fell asleep in a bass bin at a party? Or I've at least heard of someone that did. I feel so honoured to share this moment with the people that are in my life, whether I've met them yet or not. But for those that I have, I am so grateful. What would this life be without people? Well, I suppose it would be something very different. But yeah, I'm very grateful for the people who I have in my life, the people that I meet. I've met so many new people recently, and I don't know if it's just a state of life that I'm in. Maybe when I was younger I wasn't so open, or I'm not sure, and it might be a question of the place that I'm living, but there just seems to be such friendliness and willingness to acknowledge each other and say hello and greet each other and just have random little fragments of conversations and walk away without any airs or graces or need to share names, or there's just a real congenial friendliness amongst people that I'm really enjoying. I don't know if it's just me. I don't think so though. Yeah, it's funny. It seems hard to be able to enjoy a genuine moment of wow without also having to feel some gratitude for the absolute miracle of this existence. I'm absolutely loving the idea of this going into the wow. What are you into? I'm into the wow. Something about it just makes me smile. And there are so many different ways to wow and to be wowed that don't cost any money. You can just stop eating. Fasting is a trip unto itself, an amazing one. That doesn't cost anything. You can ground yourself to the earth, put your feet on the ground, and discharge all the static electricity that you're carrying from phones and carpets and plasterboard. Discharge it into the earth. You can get sun on your skin, which helps with the creation of water in your body, as does the earthing, the grounding. Get bare feet on the ground every day. If you can, jump in cold water. None of these things cost any money. Get sunlight on your face, on as much of your skin as you can. See the dawn. There is something so special about that time of the day, and there are so few people out appreciating it. It is utterly bewitching and magical, and it's free. You just have to get up early enough to enjoy it. It doesn't matter where you live. If you are up before the sun rises, you get to witness a deliciously beautiful moment of calm. So that's free too, as are sunsets, as is lighting a candle, sitting down and looking at a candle, gazing at a candle, squinting. Apparently it ignites all your stem cells. Oh, breathing. You can stop breathing. Breathe out and then hold it out for a minute, 2 minutes. You need to do some exercise beforehand, but I mean breathing. But that's a high in itself, and that also costs nothing. There are just so many things to do. Dancing. You know, it strikes me that we live in this funny time where how to describe this time. That's a much better description. Just as is, just what it is. Oh my goodness. Then there's chanting, like sounding, toning, singing, using the voice, saying mantra or just saying whatever. Nonsense, just making sound with the voice. There are so many ways to get into the wow, to get really high on the moment of now, that cost absolutely nothing. We barely need any money for food. We don't need any money for entertainment. Oh my God, running, walking, cycling, dancing, paragliding. I met someone today who's into paramotoring, a parachute with a massive fan on the back. Oh my goodness. So many ways to get into the wow. His paramotoring thing cost cheapest $6,000 for all the kit. And he looked at me like that was cheap. And I thought, wow, oh my God, Frisbee. I'm so glad that I have Frisbee in my life. I've had the same Frisbee that I bought for £10 years ago. Probably 20 years ago. That, I don't like plastic, but that piece of plastic, I just cannot deny how much fun I've had with that. And it costs nothing. Playing with the wind, seeing this thing looping out of the sky, bouncing off the ground. Catch it, throw it, catch it, throw it, catch it, throw it, catch it, as fast as possible, completely fluidly. That makes for a pretty amazing wow moment for me anyway. Yeah, we do live in this crazy time where humanity is having to adapt faster. We, individuals, are having to adapt to a world that is on one hand changing faster than it ever has before, and yet on the other hand, when we just listen out there, it's like the same as it ever was. You know, as this world is changing, you know, people are predicting huge fluctuations in population, going up and down, depending on which model you believe. But there's no doubt that the machines are really on the verge of taking over, just in terms of production. And it really pains me that the supposed powers that be, or those influential heads, don't seem to see the sort of financial trap that we're all locked in, and how simply we could all be free. Free of the mortgage payments and the rents and the having to do things that we don't believe in, and taxes, and we could be living an incredible life, all of us. Like, you know, it really frustrates me that people often, you know, talk about, oh, but what are people going to do without their jobs? And I understand they're coming from the point of view that how are they going to pay their rent? Are they going to be homeless? But there is so much to do in life without a job. We do not need jobs to give us meaning. There's our friends and our families and our neighbours and just people that we care for and interact with in the world. There's just the sustenance of healthy social relationships with other people. That takes time, as does growing or getting hold of good food and preparing it nicely and having enough time in the day to properly do some exercise, or at least enjoy one's body, and to play an instrument or learn a language or start a community project or meditate or swim in the sea or jump in cold water or have a sauna or do some chanting or do some yoga, or all of these things that are absolutely free and so amazing. Well, if you go for it, so amazing. It might seem a bit daunting at first. Oh God, I don't know if I can face not eating. But you'll soon get used to it and love it. Well, certainly I did. The first day is tough, but it just gets easier and easier. Until you really don't know if you'll ever feel hungry again. And funnily enough, I'm noticing that the more I eat, the more hungry I feel. Does this sound like I'm lecturing? My prayer is that it's me just sharing what it is that I really care about, because it feels good to share and be open about it, and because I think there may be others that may feel the same too. And God knows I haven't found many healthy groups to hang out in. Not many. But even beyond the thought of groups, it's just wonderful to be in the world and feel part of it, not observing it, not detached from it, caring and sharing with other people, and sharing food and hugs and singing, dancing, music making, being in the woods, playing music round a fire. I'm so lucky to have done all of these things, sleep under the trees, on the ground. So lucky to have been able to do all of these things. Is that a privilege? But they're all free and they're nature's birthright. Imagine if everybody just got into that and didn't need doctors anymore, didn't need hospitals, or at least just rarely when people did crazy things from their mental sports adventures. We really could have a leisure society. The thing that has been hinted at and promised for way over 100 years, the idea that the Industrial Revolution would usher in a period of peace where everybody's needs could be met. What would you do if you didn't have to go to work tomorrow or ever again? What would you think? What would be your calling? If you sat quietly enough, and you could really do whatever you wanted to do, what would that be? Would you build a garden? Start a community centre? Work with others? Help build houses? Decorate people's places? Learn an instrument? Visit other places? What would you do? Especially if it was something that you could do that didn't even require any resources, just your time, just your love, making things, beautifying your neighbourhood, like really beautifying it, not just like tagging it, but beautiful graffiti, plants, gardens, people being nice to each other, people hanging out and giving each other haircuts and braiding each other's hair and making bracelets and knitting and sewing and occasionally jumping in the sea or playing some frisbee. And, oh my God. For me, it is not difficult to imagine a very wonderful world. And what is it that's separating us from there and from that? Well, it's just the other side. It's really within reach, although that is not good enough for me. A promise, a future to wait for. I abhor the waiting place. I refuse to wait. Now is the only moment that I can conceive of. We can live a very beautiful life with all of the people, with all of our differences, because underneath those differences there are those common needs that we can all share and appreciate. Life is never perfect, and then yet it is imperfectly perfect all the time, just as it is. But we're constantly shifting between being and coming in this journey of becoming. What is your calling? I keep asking myself that. Am I really hearing my calling? Am I following its cries or its song? I feel that more and more I am. And the more I take pleasure in these simplicities, these free activities that are so energizing for the body and the mind and the heart and the soul. I'm 50 years old and feeling better than I ever have. Looking better than I have ever. And I don't belong to a gym, and I haven't paid for any classes for probably, hardly ever, but certainly not in the last 30 years. Not for yoga or training or anything like that. I swim and or run as far as I can be bothered and feel excited about that day, and that's only recently become very much a tool. I don't believe in pushing it. I love being on my bike, but I don't force myself or tell myself I've got to go a certain distance. I just ride for the hell of it, for the heaven of it, for the pleasure of it. Same with swimming. And now I'm longing for music. It's been a long time without regular music. I was so blessed. So blessed for... Well, it was one of the most figurative times of my life. 3 years on the seafront in Brighton, in front of what was the West Pier. Well, that's still there. But underneath the West Pier, where the I-360 is now, I gathered every Sunday for 3 years with a group of people spontaneously with no organisation to play music and drum and be, watching the starlings over the pier, watching the sun going down and playing music with as much focus as I could bring to bear. Dancing, being with people outside no matter what the weather. Though luckily we did have something overhead to protect from the rain. I miss that. I want that weekly playing of music in my life. And I want to do it somewhere where it doesn't stink of piss like it used to on Brighton seafront, but has good acoustics and place for people to play and dance and to be undisturbed and to not bother others. That old event that happened in Brighton, what I refer to as the West Pier drumming, was eventually kiboshed by the council. Too many complaints that too many people had been having a good time. The thing exploded. When I first went, there was 8 people shivering under an autumnal, if not wintry, Sunday afternoon on the seafront in England. It was cold, and they were warming their hands to play the djembes, playing amazing West African rhythms, like locked in, not just sort of bingy bongy ningy nongy. And I miss that, playing for enough time to lose oneself in the music once a week. Yeah, I miss that. I want that in my life. Pété de joie. I think you'd have to be pretty curious to have stuck with me so far. I wonder how many would. It's such a crazy thing to record a wow moment with the thought of sharing it, knowing that it's wow enough for me whether anyone ever listens to it again. This is a prayer of sorts that I'm willing to share. A practice of really saying thank you for how incredible this life is, and using that as a force to dedicate my actions to bringing as much good to the world as I can. Like, if we all did that. I hate that kind of if we all did it. I've said it twice. If only we all, it's so absurd. How many times have we heard people say that? If only we could all because it seems that there's something very resistant to all doing something at the same time. I think there's a natural rebelliousness in the human spirit that when someone says, hey, let's all do this at the same time, everyone goes, meh. Well, I know that I have done, and it's rare to see those kind of concerts of human behaviour where everyone's singing to the same tune, but it does happen. It does happen fleetingly when the time is right. When we're graced by the presence of genuine community and awareness. I'm looking out to the horizon. There are beautiful clouds as the sun is going down. It's a really exquisite moment. You know, I feel like I can enjoy the calm because I've been so frantically applying myself to all the things that I've been doing. You know, work on top of all of these practices or plays that I'm enjoying. So after all that rushing about, it's such a delight to stop for a moment and really listen. To listen in the sort of way that I love to listen to music, without any distraction, totally present to every sound that's made. Music as theatre, getting involved with the story that's being told, and when there is a story. You can find music these days that still has stories being told within it, whether that's verbally or not. Going on an emotional journey with those musicians to experience different dimensions that we can through music, through empathy, through being able to imagine ourselves in different scenarios, literally transporting ourselves to other places through music. It's the most powerful medicine. I absolutely love Patch Adams. I don't know how many people are aware of him, but he was, well, the story of his life was portrayed in a Hollywood film, sort of, that starred Robin Williams. So people know him as the kind of clown actor, and I think one day, because I knew it was a true story, I thought I'd investigate him, and found a talk of his at the Mayo Clinic, 20 minutes, where he talks about his life experiences and the time of him opening up a hospital with a group of friends. In the 60s, a bunch of hippies moving into a big house that there was not even enough room for them and all their families, and they then opened the doors and said, "Come to our hospital." The agreement was that to go there, you had to open your home to and your life to a meeting with Patch Adams, so he could really understand how you were living that was causing you to feel and experience the sickness that they were having. And they never used any medical interventions, no pharmaceutical drugs, and treated ridiculous numbers of people. They had... I'm scared of getting the numbers wrong. They had so many people stay. I'm sure they said 30 to 50 people staying in the house every night. They said they had no experience of privacy for the whole time it was open. He's an incredible and loving being whose story is just incredible. And he was someone who didn't shy from the pains of the world, and yet appreciated the joy, the laughter and the joy that can be found in every moment. He used to visit, he still does, I believe, visit war zones and all sorts of stricken areas just to bring smiles to people wherever he goes with his group of clowns. One of his meditations, he has a notice board in front of which he stands every day, and on one half of it there are these photographs and images of all the beauty and the joy that he's seen from around the world, photos of friends that he's made, and the smiles and laughter. And I'm sure with a life as large as his, he must have to be extremely selective with those moments. I imagine he rotates them, but before enjoying the positive things, if I remember correctly, he spends some time looking at its counterpart, memories of all the awful atrocities that he's seen, and spends time both crying with anguish and fear and sadness, and probably, well, I can't imagine what his tears, how he would describe his tears, but crying before then spending another few minutes looking at all those beautiful memories to remember why it is that he's doing what he's doing. What a practice to do every day. Oh, the guy's incredible. He used to trick people into good health by sneaking great food into their diet and getting them exercising by having parties every night, connecting people with community and their food and with their bodies, teaching them how to start enjoying life again. What's your calling? Or what are you being... Giving it a noun there makes it sound like it's something fixed and solid, like there is this calling that you have to do in your life or that is waiting for you. More like, what is calling to you? What really in the depth of your heart, if you could do anything you could wish and time or money were no object, actually, no, make money an object, but what if time was no object and you could do whatever you wanted to do? Can you think of something beautiful that's calling you? If you really could just let down the stress of having to pay the rent and the mortgage, if we could all agree to give ourselves a fucking holiday from money and having to do stuff, do you think it's possible that something really good might come of it? I personally can't see loads of people sitting around wanting to look at screens when there's life to be lived outside again. You know, I love going down to the beach early in the morning when the sun is just about to come up and it's exquisite, and the very few people that are there will look at each other with this like, wow, yeah, this is completely wow. It's just there for the taking. And I do wonder how I would feel if there were just thousands of people down there doing the same. Would it spoil it? I don't think it would. I mean, it might spoil it if someone turned up with a speaker and started blasting out some really awful music. But if people were out there just checking out how beautifully wow this world is, I don't think I could. I think that's what you would call a party. Like, you could have a dawn party every day. A dawn party, that sounds good to me. And then you could have the sunset party, and the breakfast party, and the lunch party. You could probably fit in a dinner party as well. Then maybe every year or so you could have a real party. Like a German sparkle party. Or any kind of party one could imagine. A different one every day. Many different ones every day. My God, if I hadn't taken the step, which was not my intention, to call myself a professional celebrant, I would never have, well, I don't know about never, but that was the impetus that got me to really profoundly think about what to celebrate in every moment, as well as all the natural rhythms of life, every morning, every afternoon, every day, every week, every moon, every solstice, every equinox, every year. Finding that which is to be celebrated every day. Like all the videos that I recorded about a different genius every day. You might like them. Just every day somebody new to celebrate, or something. Yeah, it's called the Genius Tree if you haven't heard of it. A celebration every day. Every day that the life still pulses through us, within us. As long as there's another moment to be witnessed on this beautiful planet Earth, whose bounty is vast and could sustain us to fabulous extents, as we could be living joyous, wonderful lives if we could bother thinking about doing things differently. If we can just break the chain in sufficient numbers at a particular moment. It's a bit like being caught, stuck in some dark spiral of a dream and having to just wrestle oneself to consciousness. And to take a breath again and just relax into the moment without stressing about it. Making our liberation an act of play. Liberation from worry. Liberation from stress. Liberation from the heartache of a slave system whose demand for interest will never be satiated. There will never be enough money to pay off the debt, the way the world is currently structured, which means we're all going to be working all of our lives to pay off an imaginary debt until such time as we all realise that we are making our lives a misery by continuing this charade. There's so much beauty. And I know that there is brutality and darkness in this world. I'm not numb to it. Although, of course, I have to be, to some degree, numb to it, because if not, I wouldn't be able to function. That in itself is a survival mechanism. I wondered just then how long I've been speaking. I've got no idea. There's a painting in my living room which depicts the secrets of the 24-hour clock, and it's concerned with the relationship of numbers and time. And yet I was noticing that in the centre of it there was this symbol which I'd not realised previously is definitely symbolic of the eternal. It just helped me to remember the bizarre nature of this human existence, that we perceive this world as having time which doesn't ultimately exist. If you have shared this wow moment, this now moment, experienced simultaneously, strangely enough, I'm so honoured to have shared this now moment with myself, with the birds, with the waves, and with anyone else who felt moved to listen and share this moment. Which could go on and on and on. Which does go on and on and on. Never stopping. There's no getting away from ourselves. We're still there, even when we don't want to be. In recent years, there's a lot of people who have been contemplating suicide and acting upon it. And I have great compassion for anyone who chooses such a course of action, and I don't have any judgment of them. But I can't get away from the idea that the next moment is experienced as, so I'm still here then. Just in a slightly different form. I don't think there's any getting away from ourselves. Which is why the sooner we face up to the fact that this could be heaven on earth and actually chill the fuck out and relax and stop working and start playing, things could change really quickly. It doesn't have to be because we're angry and we're going down the streets in protests and being blasted for demonstrations. We don't have to we don't have to make a big song and dance about it, but we could have a big song and dance. In fact, that could be really fun, depending on who gets to play the music, of course. I pray for a decent DJ wherever you are, or at least that everyone makes their music together. I pray you have some good musicians near you. And storytellers, and forests, and seas, and gardens, and friends, and neighbours, people that you sing with, people that you dance with, people that you eat with. It's interesting how I'm feeling embarrassed by how long I've probably been talking. It feels important for me to just be here now, and so I'm going to sign off. But enjoy.